Yes guys, it's FPL Guy here and welcome back to the FPL Guy YouTube channel. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Now in today's video, you've read from the title, it will be a wildcard draft video which was actually sent to me by world rank 143rd, aka Andreas, who is currently sitting in #1 spot in the FPL Guy mini league. And if we have a look at that right now, that's actually on screen, so you can see Andreas is #1, ranked 143rd. And then we have Raphael coming in just outside top 500, incredible. And then Richie hitting 1k, James 2.3k, and honestly everyone on this page, congratulations, you've had a very good start to the season. And if you haven't had a good start and you're not where you want to be, then do not worry, there is plenty of time to catch up. So once again, well done to everyone on this list. And if you want to join the FPL Guy mini league, you can find the code at the top of the screen, or you can use the auto join link down in the description. So definitely do get involved. Let's jump straight into it. Let's get started with the goalkeepers. So in goal, Andreas has suggested to go for Ramsdale. Now he doesn't have the best fixture in Gw12, but after that, Newcastle is definitely a good fixture, and you can see how Arsenal have improved defensively as a team. And also Ramsdale, he's playing incredibly well at the moment, so he's a decent pick, only 10% owned. And you can see his fixtures, they aren't the best, they aren't the worst, but coming in at 4.7, he's not the worst option to go for, so let's bring him in. As the second goalkeeper, he went for Foster. Now he's a great pick at 4 million, he'll mainly be on the bench, but last game we saw he got the, I think it was an 11 pointer, and a lot of people had benched him, so maybe here and there you can actually play him. He may get that odd save in terms of that penalty, but it's quite unlikely for that kind of stuff to happen. Anyway, at 4.1, Foster comes in as your second goalkeeper. Moving on to the defense, we'll start off with Livramento, who is a very nice cheap option. I've mentioned him before in a video, and I'll mention him again. He's a great pick, he's a really cheap option, and he's a really attacking player. So we can see that against Norwich, I mean, there's definitely points there. After that, there is, I mean, these three I would consider tricky, even Arsenal pretty tricky. And then after that, he has some decent run of fixtures. So if you're on a wild card, you can go for him. You don't really need to play him. He can be on your bench, as he is most of the times for us. But he is going to be our first defender. Alongside him, we're going to go with Chilwell. Now, I think he's gone for Chilwell. Well, he's suggested Chilwell over Reece James just because he is a little bit more nailed on. If we have a look at the stat comparison, I brought it up here. So we have Reece James in the green and then Chilwell in the blue. You can see in terms of expected goals per 90 and shots per 90, they are fairly even. And shots per 90, which is 2 and above for a defender, is pretty good. And then expected assists per 90, that is where Reece James does a little bit better. So if it was up to me, I would go for Reece James. Even if he does get benched in that odd game, I think the other games that he plays, he can definitely make up those points and do a little bit more. So I would go for Reece James. Perhaps there is a case that we can go for both of them. They're both really good. Their fixtures, they're alright. They're not the best now, but they do have some good fixtures here and there. So we could look to double up on Reece James and Chilwell. Now if you go back, the next player is going to be Cancelo. You can see how, I mean, defensively City are looking good. Cancelo, in terms of attacking potential, is there. 2 assists against Newcastle with the clean sheet, 14 points for us, which is quite nice. And as for their fixtures, I mean, you could consider City as being fixture proof, but Everton could be a little tricky, West Ham as well. Then after that, there's a ton of green fixtures, and even Everton and West Ham, I say they're going to be tricky. For City, I mean, it could be a walk in the park for them, who knows. But Cancelo, he's probably a must-have. He's pretty much nailed on, and he is doing incredibly well. Now alongside him, we're going to bring in Trent. Let's bring in Trent. Here he is. In terms of fixtures, Liverpool have a decent run. Again, you can consider them fixture proof at the moment in the form that they're currently in. Arsenal at home, Southampton away, Everton away, Wolves away, all really decent fixtures. And even if we're looking slightly longer term, they're still great. And as for his attacking potential, goal and assist against West Ham. That goal was a free kick. However, he still does get quite high up the pitch into the opposition's box, and he does get a lot of shots away. So I mean, I don't really need to say much about him. We've seen what he can do, and at 7.7 he is a little bit pricey, but I think that will be worth it, and you can definitely go for him. And finally, Andreas has suggested going for Reguilon. Now, in terms of fixtures, they probably have the best fixtures. Spurs are looking really good in terms of fixtures. Leeds at home, Burnley away, Brentford at home. Even Brentford, I did think that they were pretty solid, but recently in the last 2-3 game weeks, they have declined quite a lot. And if that carries on, then even Brentford at home is a really easy fixture for them. Obviously Norwich at home, and the rest you can see over here. In terms of attacking potential, against Everton, he did come off early, but he had a great chance to score with that Kane cross coming into the box. He was at the far post. It wasn't quite a tap in. He did have to stretch for it, but you can see that he is getting into those positions, and therefore he should be getting some sort of attacking returns here and there. He also put in some decent crosses into the box for Kane. Unfortunately, no returns. I did have him, but unlucky for me, no returns. But going forward, you can definitely have him in your team. So those would be your 5 defenders. Now I just want to show you a quick comparison between Reece James and Cancelo. Reece James, again, he is, in terms of stats, doing a bit better. Shots, you can say Cancelo is taking a little bit more. However, overall, in terms of a defender, he is giving us some amazing stats. Let's compare him to Trent as well. I haven't seen this one, so this one could be interesting. Alright, there you go. They're fairly similar here, but again, Reece James for a slightly cheaper price is giving you those nice stats. Now, as long as he keeps on starting, which he should be, then you're all good to go. Moving on to the midfield, first of all, let's bring him nice and simple, Salah. There's no way you can make a draft without him. In the format that he's in, you just have to have him. There's no questions about it. So he's in. Alongside him, he has suggested going for Zaha. Now Zaha is quite an interesting one. Not many people have him at the moment. So if you are looking to boost up your rank, he could be quite a nice differential. Let's see how many people own him. 7.4%, so under 10% own, which is very decent. And in the 2 recent games, he's scored in both of them, 8 points in each game. That's pretty solid. And his fixtures coming up aren't bad at all. Burnley away, Aston Villa at home, Leeds away. United, who knows how United are going to perform on that day. And then after that as well, pretty decent run of fixtures. So going for Zaha is not a bad option at all. And also he has those penalties, which is, as I always say, a very nice added bonus. And then the other consideration that you could have is going for Gallagher. Now I have brought up his stats against Smith Rowe because these two are very similarly priced, and maybe you want to choose between one of them. In terms of stats, Gallagher does outperform Smith Rowe pretty much in all departments. Expected assists per 90, expected goals per 90, and also shots per 90. And in terms of fixtures, I would argue that Crystal Palace's fixtures are a little bit better than Arsenal's. In terms of the attacking ability for these two respected teams, I would say that they're fairly even at the moment. Crystal Palace scoring 2 against City, and they also, who was the last game against? Wolves, 2 goals against Wolves as well. So attacking wise, they're not looking bad at all. So if I were to pick one of them, it would be going for Conor Gallagher. Alongside Zaha then, we are going to bring in Rafinha. Now he's also scored in the last 2 games, giving us 9 points in each, which is very nice. Fixtures in the next 4 are decent. After that, perhaps you could then go for somebody else and maybe bring in someone like Smith Rowe, I guess, in that period of time. Against Chelsea, City, Arsenal, Liverpool, this is going to be a tough run of fixtures, so definitely you could remove. But for these 4, even Spurs away, they could easily score against that. And then the final 2 options are going to be, first of all, Foden. Now he looks like he is pretty much nailed to start. He has been playing 90 minutes in the last couple of game weeks, and he's been performing very well. And then in terms of their fixtures, we've already seen it, they are very nice. So Foden, as long as he keeps his position, then he is looking good. And the final person to bring in is going to be Brownhill, the most exciting option as your bench option. In terms of fixtures, they are great, but honestly, you're going to be putting him on your bench for most of the game week. So there's nothing else to say about him. And finally, the front three. Now the first player we're going to bring in is going to be Kane. Now we have to go with at least one Spurs attacker, right? In this run of fixtures, they are, they have to score. Leeds at home, Burnley away, Brentford at home. We already had Reguilon, and then we can have one of Son or Kane. Maybe if you're feeling very confident, you could double up, but then you would have to squeeze some budget out of somewhere else because these two guys are pretty expensive. But Andreas has suggested for going for Harry Kane. I guess he has that penalty under his belt, and he is expected to just be playing a more advanced role instead of dropping deep as we have seen him do. We are expecting him to sort of stay slightly higher up the pitch and try to get those headers, those tap-ins, as a number 9 should normally be doing. So with this run of fixtures, I mean, he's a great option. And then alongside him, a quite interesting option is going to be Wilson. Now let me bring him in. So with Wilson, he's got the fixtures. Brentford at home, Arsenal could be a little bit tricky, Norwich, Burnley, and maybe even Leicester. Fairly decent run of fixtures and a big differential with only 2.1% of people owning him. And then when it comes to this block here, obviously you can sell him for someone who's doing a lot better in that period of time. But this is an interesting one in terms of his returns recently. In the first 2 matches he played once he came back from his injury, he did provide that attacking return. But the recent 2 against Chelsea at home and Brighton away, he did blank. Now these 2 fixtures were quite tricky. Both of these teams have a very good defense, so we weren't probably expecting anything from him. But against Brentford and Norwich and Burnley, we can expect some sort of return. So maybe, just maybe, he could be that player you need to boost you up the ranks. So that's an interesting one. And finally, we're going to bring in Hwang. Now with Hwang, he wasn't expected to start many games, but recently he's been playing pretty much every game and almost getting 90 minutes in every game as well. So, I mean, you could go for him as an alternative to Jimenez, the slightly cheaper option, who is actually doing well. He's not doing bad at all. But with this run of fixtures, maybe you could look elsewhere because Wolves aren't looking the best going forward. So maybe against Norwich and Burnley they could get something, but the fixtures around that, they aren't looking too nice. But nevertheless, Andreas did suggest him, so he will be in the team. As for a quick comparison for you guys, I brought up Callum Wilson here alongside Jimenez. Callum Wilson is in green, Jimenez in blue. You can see how Callum Wilson, he does have that slightly high expected goals per 90. He doesn't provide those types of assists, therefore it's pretty much 0.01. Expected shots per 90, they are very similar. So you can see in terms of fixtures, Wilson does have the better fixtures, and in terms of stats, they are quite similar apart from the expected assists. So you could go for Wilson over someone like Jimenez, which I know a lot of people already have. And we can also compare him with someone like Tony. And it's, again, a very similar story here. Expected assists is going to be a lot higher with this type of player, but the other 2 departments are fairly similar. And again, the fixtures are there to back Wilson. And if you can't afford Wilson just because your team value is a little bit low, you could go for someone like a Tony instead, who, as I've shown you, hasn't got bad stats at all. You could look to go for something like this. And perhaps, again, you have a little bit lower budget, so you can't afford this, then you can go against, you can get rid of Zaha and get in Gallagher, because I think honestly Gallagher is a better option than Zaha anyway. If I show you their stats, so let me bring up Zaha here, Wilfred Zaha, and then we're going to compare him with Gallagher. There we go. I am expecting Gallagher's stats to be a bit better than Zaha's in the way that I'm seeing it. Let's have a look. This season, there you go. It's very similar, but Gallagher is doing a little bit better statistically, and the fact that he's cheaper, about I think 1.5 million or 2 million cheaper, he's definitely worth going over than Zaha in my opinion. So that's something you guys can think about. Once again, thank you to Andreas for sending me your team and allowing me to share it on my YouTube channel for everyone to benefit from it. And with that being said guys, that will pretty much wrap up today's video. So if you enjoyed it, then a like on the channel would be very much appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed, then what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. I'll be uploading a lot of videos all throughout this season, which will hopefully help you guys out, boost up all those ranks. And with that being said, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.